So I'm a car dealer, and my biggest struggle, my biggest problem in this car market right now is just buying inventory. And what we've seen over the last few weeks is that we've seen an increase in prices on the wholesale level. And because the reason for that is for tax time, spring selling season, prices usually get bumped up. But another big issue that we're seeing is typically during this time, we'll have more cars come through auction, but we're really not seeing that. And how we get cars at auction, how I get as a small used car dealer, where I buy my cars from are from these car auctions, but where these cars come from are from new car dealer trade-ins. And one problem that we had, and we saw it big time last week, we did a video on it. You're going to see that come out soon on our main channel. But there were a lot fewer cars than what we're usually used to seeing around this time, because during this time, car dealers are supposed to be selling a lot of cars. Used car dealer side, we get tax refund checks, and people use that to buy cars. And then on the new car dealer side, spring selling season, people get their refund checks, and they're able to put bigger down payments on cars. They're able to use those refunds to get into loans on these vehicles. And what we're seeing is that we're seeing a lot of banks are turning away customers. And when they do that, when they tighten up, then they can't afford to buy these new cars because they can't come up with the sizable down payment that they would need to actually get approved for these loans. And on top of that, we have negative equity. That's a big problem in the car market. And with that negative equity, when a consumer goes into one of these new car dealerships and tries to trade in their vehicle, they owe so much on their vehicle, they're underwater on it. And that means that they have to come up with the difference to be able to roll into the next loan. And because they're so far underwater, the average consumer is about $6,000 underwater on their car right now. They can't come up with that money. They don't have the money. Most Americans don't have $500 to their name in savings for a rainy day. So they can't come up with the money to pay the difference to get into that new vehicle. All of these things make it to where it's harder for these new car dealers right now to sell their vehicles. If they can't sell their vehicles, they're not getting trade-ins. If they're not getting trade-ins, they're not sending these cars to the auction. And if they're not sending these cars to auction, then there's going to be fewer vehicles at the auction for the same number of used car dealers like myself to buy. And the problem that's arising right now at this time frame during the market is that there's more used car dealers going to the auction, because we just got through this time frame where we sold quite a few cars, and other car dealers are going to have that similar experience. Now, I've been talking to a lot of other car dealers, and their tax season was not as good as what they anticipated. But there's still some movement in the market. There's still some demand for a lot of these used cars. So there's going to be some added buying pressure from the used car dealer side. And if we have vehicles falling, the amount of vehicles falling at these dealer auctions, then that's just going to cause the prices to stay elevated. And what we're doing is we're not trying to press on the gas right now. We're not trying to extend ourselves and pay too much for these vehicles. And this is why it's very frustrating for us right now in this market, and why it's the biggest problem for us, because right now there's still people out there that have some money. There's still some tax refund money out there, even though I think it's coming to a close. It is getting slower on our lot, but there's still a little bit of buying pressure out there. And with that, that means that we're still selling some cars. So I can't replenish my inventory. I can't buy more cars right now than what we're selling. And right now, I think we only have 14 to 20 cars that are actually for sale on our lot. And we end up, I think last week we had a good week buying during this time frame. We had one auction where we bought 12 cars. That's very abnormal. I talked about that a little bit, that was my worry for the market, that a lot of these dealers weren't selling as much as they anticipated. That's why we were able to go in and buy some last week. But overall, we still only bought 14 cars, and we sold more than that last week. So it's going to be a big struggle for us going forward. I don't think us being able to go into an auction and buy 12 cars is going to be the norm going forward. We're going to see what's going to happen this week, next week. We'll let you guys know what we buy, what we pay for it. But what I anticipate is that we're going to be able to buy 3-4 cars per auction. We'll go to 3 auctions a week. So maybe anywhere from 10 to 12 cars we'll be able to buy. But I still think that if we have cars on our lot right now and we have them in a range where we can keep them $3,000 to about $5,000, that we're still going to outpace selling cars. We're going to sell more cars right now than what we can buy. And what ends up happening is that Okay, we'll go through this hindsight little realization probably 2 or 3 weeks from now and say, okay, there was still money in the system. We probably should have paid up just a little bit to try to buy more cars to keep them here. But I just don't want to get stuck with anything. And that's why we're kind of between a rock and a hard place at this time period during this season. It was what we get stuck in every single year. It's right after tax time, we sell a ton of cars, and then we have to reload our lots. And it becomes very difficult right now. And in this particular car market, it's the worst by far than what it's been in the last 2-3 years, is because these new car dealers are just not selling any cars. And that's a big struggle that we're going to have to deal with here at my lot to be able to buy more cars, is because I need these new car dealers. I need them to sell cars. And what they need from the manufacturer is lower MSRPs. So it goes all the way up to the top. If the manufacturers can lower their MSRPs, they can add incentives, they can give more special interest rates. We're seeing that slowly start to trickle into the market, but we need more of that, and that's what the new franchise dealers need. And what I need for them to do is stop adding on junk to these cars. I need them to be more negotiable with consumers so they can sell their cars, because if they sell their cars, then that means they can get me more cars. And if they can get more cars to the auction through selling, through getting trade-ins, then that means that can push used car prices down. But that's not happening right now. And as long as we have these manufacturers that are keeping these high MSRPs, as long as they're not just pumping incentives down these dealers' throats to get them to move vehicles, then we're not going to see any kind of big change, any big movement in the market. I do think we're going to keep on this downtrend that we're in, especially for new cars. I think new cars now are going to have more negotiability than used cars. And the new car dealers right now are actually hurting more than the used car dealers are, because they're getting pumped with so much inventory and they're not able to sell the amount of inventory that's coming in. They actually have the reverse problem of what I have here at my used car dealership. They're getting so much inventory in that it's outpacing what they can actually sell. And we're seeing that from the manufacturers that this is a real thing. We just had the news article come out from Nissan saying that okay, they were paying dealers to start taking a lot of these vehicles because they didn't have anywhere to put them, and then the dealers were having to turn down these allocations. We're going to see more stories like this come out across all these manufacturers, because they're all in the same boat. Toyota, Honda, probably the outliers. There's going to take them a little bit longer to get these dealers filled up and then to have problems with their allocations. But we're already seeing that even the hardest hit brands as far as demand goes, when the customers, the highest demand manufacturers, Toyota dealers, they're still loading up on inventory. They're way more than what they were 6 months ago. So we're just going to start seeing this across the market. Your biggest losers right now are your Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealers. We're seeing Nissan, we're seeing them pump incentives, and GM, Ford, your big three. They're all getting hit right now as far as them having trucks, vehicles stacking up at their lots. And that's what I see going forward, is that these new car dealers are going to have a tough time going forward, and that makes it harder on me because I need them to sell cars. Please, new car dealers, manufacturers, lower your prices so you can sell cars, so I can get cars. And I see me having this problem till the middle of summer, and it's not a problem that we've had to deal with for what I perceive to be this long throughout the year. And I think we're going to really have a hard time of it this year. But we can go to chat and ask. We can ask some questions. We can answer some questions. My wife's here. She can pull it up. All right, what you got for me, baby?
Hey, babe.
Yeah.
Dan asked, these trade-ins from new car dealers, do you buy them directly from them or always purchase through an auction house?
So what happens whenever these new car dealers get trade-ins is, there used to be a situation where you could go as a wholesaler, you could go straight to these new car dealers and you could offer them some money on their trade-ins. The problem that arose, and my grandfather, he was a dealer long time ago for many years. And what he said that used to be commonplace in the market is that you could go to these new car dealers and you could buy straight from them wholesale. And but the problem that happened, as it does in the car market, is stuff gets really shady. And what ended up happening is a lot of these wholesale managers that were taking in these trade-ins, they were getting kickbacks from these used car dealers that would come and buy their vehicles. So they'd slip them $50, $100 to give them a better deal. And then the owners started to catch wind of this and figure out that, okay, they were losing money by selling this stuff wholesale for better deals to these dealers that would come up versus sending them to the auction, because it's at the auction, it's a free playing field, and it's just dealers are going to be just pitted against each other, and they're going to run up the prices on each other, right? So a lot of these franchises, they have completely stopped from dealers actually buying straight from the dealers, the franchise dealerships. So everything goes to auction now. So whenever we go and we go to the auction, we are buying directly from the dealership. So on paper, it looks like we're buying directly from them, but we have to go through the auction to be able to buy it. So it's fair for everyone, and nobody's getting slid any money. There's no bribes going on. It's all fair game, but we pay for that fair game, and it's in the form of auction fees. But they do make it easy for us to locate a lot of vehicles all in one place, because there's a ton of franchise dealers that will just ship all of their trade-ins straight to one location. And that's how I buy my cars. And I have bought straight from other dealers, but they haven't been franchise dealers. I've never bought any from any franchise dealers. It's all been from like buy here, pay here dealers that would get some repos in, and they would have 3 or 4 and let me go look at them. And if there was a good one there, then I would just pick and choose what I wanted before they would send it to auction. But that's really the only like inside track that I've ever had as far as buying cars. So, we have to go through auction for 99% of the cars that we buy. All right, what else we got?
Can you take customers to the auctions and let them choose the cars they want to buy, and you get a premium?
No, you are not allowed to do that. Now, there are some dealers out there that break the rules, and they'll take people there, but a lot of these auctions are really cracking down on that. So there's a couple auctions I go to now that are in a gate, and you literally, what we have is an auction access pass, and it's a little card, a little badge. You can show your membership on the phone, but you have to have this membership, this access to be able to even get inside the gate at the auction. And what the reason why they're checking that now is because they are cracking down on dealers just bringing in individuals. And we've had a big rise of that happen over the last 3 years. And there's no secret why. I mean, there's no question why people are wanting to do this more, is because to go buy a car from a dealer is so expensive now. They're trying to do anything to get a little bit of a deal, and sliding into an auction is a way to get a little bit of a deal, because you can buy wholesale. You're still paying too much, and you can end up buying something that you don't want to buy if you don't know exactly what you're looking at. No, I don't do this. And dealers are not supposed to be able to do this, but we still see it all the time at, especially at auctions that aren't checking this. It's a problem I can tell you it's a problem for the person that's sneaking in, because if they don't know what they're buying, they're going to get stuck with something they don't anticipate getting stuck with, because they don't exactly know how the system works. They don't know what dealers not to buy from. They don't know what to check for. So I would not recommend doing that. It's bad for the dealer that's taking them in there, because they're breaking the rules of the auction. And if the auction finds out, they can get kicked out permanently. And it's bad for all the other dealers there. Because you're just adding in more buyers that are going to pay probably more than they should for a vehicle when it's going through auction, because they don't know what they're looking at. They don't know how much things should cost. And just anytime you add more buyers into the system, it's going to increase prices. So I don't like the dealers that bring people in there. I don't like when they're trying to just skirt the rules and for them to make a little extra money. And I don't think it's good for the consumer that's going in there and trying to do it also. So no, we don't do it, and I don't like it. Next question.
All right. Have you considered expanding your business?
We considered it a long time ago. My wife's probably chuckling
Yep.
behind the camera over there. So we right before the pandemic, or right at the beginning of the pandemic, we opened a second location. We owned a location, a town over. We had that dealership for a long time, and then we expanded to a second location, which is the location that we're in right now. And we found out very quickly that we could not buy enough inventory to service both locations. Also, so much staff. I ended up having to cover for somebody at just about every day. It had to be in the office. We had multiple car buyers going. We had transport going. We had, baby, how many employees do we have at the time? Was it 11 of us
I
total,
think it
13
was at
total?
least 12, not including us.
Yeah,
So I
so
think
we
we were
had we had that many people, and it was a headache. And I like money. Don't get me wrong. I like making money, but I don't need to make that much money for that kind of headache. So we decided to go a different route very quickly after we opened that second location. And I ended up selling the first location that we're in because it was smaller. And now we do all of our business out of here, and we're able to, I mean, we can comfortably sell between 90 and probably 110 cars a month if we're at our maximum capacity here. And that's all I want to do. If we hit 100 cars a month, then I don't want to do any more than that. That's a lot of work, and a lot for the team that we have right now. And I don't see myself, especially while I'm doing stuff on YouTube. And also I have a 5-year-old, and also I have a wife,
Yep,
and she wants to see me at home sometimes. So
sometimes.
yeah, sometimes she might want us to expand, so I'm working longer and not being at home. So, but I would think that if I'm going to be the father and the husband and the informer of you guys that I want to be, we're content with where we are right now, and I don't need the extra stress and the extra money that comes along with that extra stress. I'm content. So there you go. We have considered it, and we did it, and then we didn't like it.
And then
Next
we didn't
question.
do it anymore.
And then we didn't
Um,
do it anymore.
and can a dealer bring his mechanic who is not a dealer?
Can a dealer bring his mechanic who is not a dealer? So in some of these auctions, I'll just go reiterate what I said earlier. If the mechanic is not a dealer and not a sales associate, so you can get a dealer's rep license where your mechanic can buy for you. So I'll just give you the example of what we do. Alex is my mechanic. He is not a dealer. I am a car dealer, but he is a sales rep through my dealership. So anyone who is set up through my dealership that is a sales rep can go into the auction. He can literally go without me. He's got an auction access of his own. So you don't necessarily have to be the dealer principal. You don't have to be the person who owns the company. You just have to have this in North Carolina. It's going to be different in other states, I'm sure, but in North Carolina, I'm the dealer, I'm the owner, and everyone else who can buy cars from me has a dealer representative license. We still have to apply for that and get them approved and everything like that. And then I have to get Alex the auction access. Alex is my mechanic. And then after he's got that, he goes to auctions without me. So the answer is yes and no. You just have to do the right things to be able to get them into the auction. It's just, you can't just bring a mechanic that just walks up off the street into the auction. At the auctions, that won't let you, that you have to have auction access to get into here in North Carolina. Next question.
Have you ever sent a vehicle to an auction?
Yeah, many times before. We actually did last week, and I did that car sale. Can't remember. I don't know if
I
that
have
car sold or not.
absolutely no idea.
We had a turd that we sent to auction. I know it was in the in-ops whenever I saw it out there. I didn't watch it. So I don't know if it sold or not. I hope it brought more than $500, and then we would have let it go and lost $2,000 bucks. Yeah. So yes, I'd sent a car to auction last week. Usually it's only my junk though, that I send to auction that I don't want to sell to a customer. If it's got a motor or transmission that's bad and it doesn't make sense for us to fix it, then that's when we'll send a car to auction. But there's no scenario where we keep a car for too long, even though it's good, because we don't have floor plan. We don't have any interest that we're paying. So we can just continue to lower the price on our lot and we can keep it for, I mean, we can keep it for a year on our lot. We're not going to, because we want to move cars and don't have a car that's not performing for us competing with other cars that we're bringing in that are new. So we'll drop a car down to what we have in it, or even less than that before. I don't even know the scenario where we would send a good car to auction. I don't think there is a scenario. But yeah, the auction gets my junk. That's what they get. All right, next
We've had
question.
a lot of good questions today, just so you know.
Good.
Is your lot still empty? Saw your video the other day showing an empty lot.
Yeah, I was saying this earlier in this video. I think we've only got like 14 cars for sale right now. It's a struggle, because I mean, we sold 6 cars Saturday and we only had 15, 16 cars for sale, and we sold 6 of them. So we can't keep up. And right now it's going to continue to be a problem. And I'm not paying up. I'm not going to pay up for cars because I don't want to have to charge more than what the vehicle's worth to my customer. So we'll just lose some money. I'm fine with that. I'm not going to pay what some of these dealers are paying for cars right now just to have cars on my lot. I'll wait them out. And that's just what's going to happen. All right, we can answer something else.
What % of your competition buy their vehicles for cash versus having a floor plan to finance these auction purchases?
I don't know this number. I can only guess at it. And I don't think you can know this number, because there are dealers that have floor plans. They're on the books for having floor plans, but they don't use them. There's quite a few dealers that do that. And then there's dealers that pay cash, and you don't know if they're using credit or not. My assumption would be that probably 60 to 70%, and that might be low, of dealers use floor plans. Now that's when you're talking about, you said my competition, so the small used car dealers. I'd say 60 to 70% probably use a floor plan. When you're talking about big franchise dealers, these new car dealers, almost all of them. Now they're going to have cash wrapped up in their used cars. Most likely they're not going to floor those, their trade-ins, things like that. But you're going to see them, all their inventory is going to be floored. But used car dealers that's just my guess, 60, 70%. And if I was going to bet the over, the under, I would probably bet the over, because I would imagine it's probably closer to 75, 80% that use floor plans.
I like this question. I don't know if I've ever thought about this. I have a question. Have you ever sold a car to CarMax? Because there's a local dealer near me that I talk to, and that's what he does when he has a car he can't sell.
I have not, but what I do have a buddy that buys and sells more expensive stuff than what we have. And what he has done quite a few times, especially during this crazy time, the last 2.5 years, is that he's bought a car from auction and he'll go ahead and run it on Carvana to see how much they will pay. And he's been very surprised. There's been quite a few times where they have offered him like $3,000-$4,000 more than what he had when he bought it from the auction. So he was able to just turn that quick cash. And it was like the way that he was going to price it was maybe even to just make like $2,500. So he ended up making another like $1,500 on some of these cars that he sold straight to Carvana. He said he'd wait for the title. He would put it in their little their app or whatever, and they would show up, check it out, okay, and they'll cut him a check. And I just thought that was so ridiculous that the Carvana was paying so much for these cars. But I've had a viewer now that he bought a brand new Jeep Gladiator. I put this in a video, and he drove it for like 2 months, and he asked Carvana how much they would pay for this Jeep Gladiator, and they paid him like, I think it was like $6,000 or $7,000 more than what he bought it brand new for. So just think about that. Let's go back. Just think about that. So he bought a Jeep from a new franchise. He bought brand new. He drove it for a little bit, so now it's used. And then Carvana gave him like $6,000 or $7,000 more than what he paid for it brand new. They have no clue what they're doing. For them to even be able to make a mistake like that, the Carvana literally could have went and bought it brand new from the Jeep Dodge Ram dealer for a cheaper price and sold it as new, because they could transfer it from a dealer to dealer and then not actually issue the certificate of a title. So they could have sold it brand new from the Carvana from Carvana and paid a cheaper price than what they paid for this guy. Absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, we need to end with that. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please subscribe to this channel. It's the second channel. If you don't know, check us out on X. We have a podcast, Car Questions Answered, and like this video. And thank you for watching and in stream.